Okay, folks, here we go once again. Welcome. Thank you all so much for joining us once again on Behind the Start Line. So pumped to be here. As always, I'm your host, Eric Burnett, and joined with me, my favorite, my teammate, my partner in crime, Troy Schooley. Troy, what's new? What's shaking?
Hello, Eric.
Hi.
It's another great day to be on the podcast. It's good to see you.
It is. It's great to see you. Before we go any further, I don't want to forget, a couple episodes ago, you called me out. It was good. You're keeping
I do that a lot.
You do that a lot. Do that a lot. Absolutely. I deserve it pretty much all the time. But I think most of you know out there that I own my own DJ company, production company. How I got connected with P3R is by DJing at the start line, the finish line. And we have a lot of fun toys, a lot of cool things that we do to sort of just ramp people up. And you just called me out. You said, why haven't you included any of these in the pod? So
right, yeah, like all the tools in the kit, you haven't pulled them out.
Yeah, so
I know you have a bunch of fun things.
Right, it's time.
Now I'm excited about the surprise. Bring it out.
It's time. We're gonna bust it out. So I'm gonna turn the camera here. Got me on this microphone, so hopefully you guys can still hear me. Here we go. That's my dog Reese right there. Here's our confetti cannon. Let's just do this.
Yeah,
charging it up. We'll see. I mean, if I shoot this at the screen, it could just knock over. So I'm going to try and just shoot down low here. Here we go. This one's for you, P3R Podcast.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a great surprise. I can't wait to bring it back to a start line.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just look at the room right now. This is my desk. It's gonna take a whole hour to clean that up. But
that was well worth it. That was well worth it. I won't be there to help you clean it up, but that's awesome.
Yes, totally. So, yeah, I mean, like you said, Troy, we've rocked that out. Not the confetti at the start line, but we've rocked out the T-shirt cannon. We shot a T-shirt cannon off before. It's the same device at the Liberty Mile. So, I just can't wait to hopefully bust that out for a bunch of people here in the future.
We'll be bringing that back soon.
I chose red, white, and blue confetti for
the Liberty
red,
Mile.
White, and blue. Yeah, for the Liberty Mile for the division.
July 23rd, Friday night under the lights.
Friday night lights, baby.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, registration's going really well for that one. We have a lot of open events right now for registration, and all of them are doing really well, pacing ahead of where we thought. The Gap Relay, we've talked about it a lot. Yep. Registration's going really well. There's a lot of teams that have registered. We have a Facebook page that I've seen people interacting on, looking for teams, which is always good. You can become really close with complete strangers in a 24-hour span on that event. And we've seen it happen in the past. Yeah. There's been several teams that have found each other via Facebook and kind of joined in an 8-person team. And then, they made friends for life because like I said, you're very intimate over a 24-hour period or however long it takes you to run from Pittsburgh to Cumberland, Maryland. So
yeah, absolutely. That's one of my favorite aspects of it. And I didn't even think about that until, I was there on site and teams were finishing and I was interviewing these teams and asking how they had met each other. And a good amount of them were just like, we really didn't meet in person until like 24 hours ago. And
right.
I love that. I love that element. It really truly does. You are creating these lifelong relationships, and had it not been for the Gap Relay, it wouldn't have happened. And that's just a really cool thing.
Yeah. It takes a really open person, I think, to join a team of strangers, but it's probably a person that wants to do this and will do it at all costs. Right. So,
yeah,
but at the end, they've all said, man, we've made a lot of good friends throughout, supportive of each other, the van rides from small town to small town along the beautiful trails. So, it's a cool aspect of the event that probably goes kind of under the radar, but we'll have to bring that out and share some first time stories of new friendships made this year for sure.
Yeah, totally. Most people who are crazy enough to do a 150-mile relay race are crazy enough just to meet someone for the first time.
To ride in a van with a stranger for 24 hours. Absolutely. That's kind of what I was getting to. I was trying to be polite. I try to be as polite as I can with our participants, but if you're crazy enough to take on that daunting task of that, that riding with strangers in a van for 24 hours probably doesn't affect you at all.
Totally. I love it. I absolutely love it. So cool. Well, yeah, Gap Relay open for business. People are signing up already, as you mentioned, Troy. And it's get in there, folks. If you've even thought about it at all, head to the website, check it out, see some of the experiences from the past. And it doesn't take long to realize that it's something worth being a part of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. I also want to bring up, we did have a breaking news announcement last week.
Yes.
At P3R, and we're super excited. We won in partnership with our friends at Sports Pittsburgh. We won the bid for the 2023 National Senior Games. The Senior Olympics will be coming back to Pittsburgh. We'll be the official management partner of Visit Pittsburgh and Sports Pittsburgh. So, 14,000 athletes, 30,000 people are going to be coming into town in the summer of 23.
Oh my
God.
That,
it feels like 23 is a long ways off. An event of that magnitude,
you got to be planning.
We've already started planning. We've already started planning. So it's big for not just P3R. It's massive for the city, especially a city that has lost, a lot of their tourism dollars, a lot of their hotel nights, over the last year. To be able to have this showcase event come into town for 2 weeks during the summer of 2023 is going to be just great economic impact for the city. So
the way to rebound.
We are super excited about that announcement, and our friends at Sports Pittsburgh and the partnership that we've built to be that official event management partner. I think there's a lot more to come. This was big. We started working on this about a year ago. Putting the bid process together, but to finally announce it and see the excitement around it. We did a press conference and we had a lot of the athletes that have participated in the games around the country come in and showcase their medals and tell us about what events they're in. And I met a lot of great people there. So it gave me some excitement to continue planning this great event. So
that is awesome. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we're going to have at least one pod focused on that.
For sure.
I'm having to hold back from asking all like a million questions right now.
Talk about great stories.
Yeah.
I met a cyclist. He currently lives out in the McDonald area, but he's participated around the country. He is shooting to be the first 95-year-old and over to participate in the cycling event portion of the Senior Olympics. I mean, this guy's, I think he would be 92 or 93 now. Yeah. He looks like he's 70. He's in great shape. He wore his kit. I mean, this guy was awesome. And he was showing me all the medals that he's received throughout the country. And it's just exciting. We inspire any and all to move. And I think that it just comes back to our mission that we're going to have, all these seniors come in and move with us, 20 different events. So it's not just about running. I mean, we're obviously going outside the scope. We have, pickleball and a triathlon and like I said, cycling and volleyball and basketball. So it'll be fun. It'll be a lot of work for our team. Our operations team has done a great job thus far, and I expect them to continue. And so we'll have to have an individual pod with some of these guests on to tell us their stories because they're great. Yeah.
I mean, this might be multiple pods for this one. This is amazing. So yeah, congratulations. So excited about that.
Thank you. Yeah, we are too.
Cool. Very cool. Well, I mean, I've got a whole list of things to go through on our intro here. It's just like there's just exciting things happening right now. I know you mentioned triathlon, you mentioned cycling right now, and I know we want to talk a little bit about cross training and the importance of it. Obviously, like you alluded to a minute ago, sort of the niche with P3R is running, at least up until this point, for the most part. And so cycling, swimming, other forms of cross training don't always come into topic with us, but it's definitely important. I was actually we were recording for the 4Run2 varsity program last night, and was talking to Jordan Hasse, and we were talking about cross training in that meeting, and it was here this super elite runner, third fastest marathon female American of all time, and she swims 20 to 30 minutes a day. She gets her muscles loose. She says that it just helps to relax all of them and to it's sort of a recovery almost. And as a former triathlete, I definitely can attest to it. And I said this on the recording last night. I'll say it again. I was injury prone all throughout my career of running in Fox Chapel, at Pitt. when I was just running. But once I started introducing swimming and biking into the program, I think I really only got injured once, and it was very short. And that was over the course of 6 years of being a triathlete. So I am a perfect example of someone who definitely benefited from it. And I really think everyone could.
Oh, cross training is so important. And our guests are going to talk about the importance of it today. But,
Yep.
like you said with Jordan and a lot of the athletes that we talk to and I talk to, I don't know if this was as prevalent 20 years ago. I think they found kind of a new methodology in the methodology. What I'm trying to say.
You got it. I'm with you.
Let's just go with a new method. They found a new method in their training regimen, right? Where before it was probably getting out, pounding the pavement, pounding the trails, and now adding in all these elements with stretching and pure bar and things like that. That CrossFit that we'll be talking about today is such an important strengthening. And Eric, you touched on it. It's because of injury prevention. It does a great job of just strengthening your whole body. So yeah, it's super important. And I think we're starting to see, all these different niche, gyms pop up around the country that specialize in different things, but they're all super important. And people, they kind of flock to what they feel is the best. And, whether it's Orange Theory, there's so many different things, but I think it's good for people to try different things instead of just going out, lacing up the shoes and, putting in 5-10 miles a day. That's great, but at the same time, there has to be strengthening, right?
Absolutely. I feel like, that past method of running, it was just like this purist mentality. And I think you can still see them these days. You see some of these like old school runners who that is it. They live and die by pounding the pavement, and, more power to you if you can get along that way and make it happen. But man, if I had not been introduced to cross training, I probably would have stopped running long ago. And so I feel like it is a great change that's happening, because it's allowing people to have longevity and to see other ways to continue to move. And to, come outside. It's something else we were talking about last night was just how not narrowing your focus and not getting locked into one way of exercising.
Right.
It's just so important, because you'll hit walls. You hit walls if you just stay in one area, and to not be afraid to try something else just to mix it up. You're still staying fit. You're not losing that fitness. And so whenever an injury does heal up or whatever, you can come back and you will miss that much less of a step. So it's
and it's not just running, right? It's every sport. You see
right.
Every sport kind of taking this course with their training. I know the Penguins do yoga and Pilates, because I can guarantee you 20 years ago, some of those old Penguins were not doing yoga and Pilates.
Can you imagine that? Yeah.
No.
Or laughed at it, right?
They would have joked. There's no way we're doing this. We're lacing up the skates and we're getting out there. But now they find it as a benefit, right? They strengthen their body, they strengthen their core. Stretching so important. So it's just not running. Every sport is doing that. Basketball, baseball are just finding different ways that are beneficial to the athlete's body from a maintenance standpoint. I think you touched on it. That's a key word is maintenance versus just continuing to beat your body regardless of whatever sport you're playing. So I think that, science has come a long ways with showing, how to maintain and advance an athlete's body. And that's super important to continue that advancement of that. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it every day. And our guest today will talk about that, right?
Yep, absolutely. Well, yeah. And before we hop into that, I did want to highlight, you guys are just like everything you do when you realize that there's something that's important, something that could benefit the runners in Pittsburgh, the movers in Pittsburgh, you jump into it, you dive into it head first and you go full on. So tell me a little bit about this 10-week series that P3R has been doing with the local studios around Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So, in the middle of COVID, we realized that a lot of our partners, a lot of our different gyms that I just talked about, they were struggling, right? They weren't able to have their normal guests into their studio or into their gym. And how can we give back, but also help our participants that are dealing with the same things that are not allowed to go into their facilities to work out, to train the different ways they train. So what we did was we put together this essentially 10-week series with 10 different groups throughout the region. We had them submit an application, and what they do is they put a video together for us. We pay them for that video, but then we share that video to our participants. So it's a way for them to do, at-home workout with, different types of workout, really, that they might not have went to that gym or to that workout. They might not have been comfortable, but now they can say, hey, I've heard a lot of people talk about bar method.
Right.
Let me try it first. PTHR is going to supply that, 40-minute hour video. And then they might sign up in the future and say, I really enjoyed that. I'm going to go. So it's been a beneficial series, I think, to everybody. Not just because we could give back. I mean, that's great. But at the same time, it's so important to keep our runners fit through these different ways of working out during COVID and when the gyms were closed. So yeah, it's been really cool. I think it's something that we can continue outside of COVID. We talk about it a lot. We learned a lot of things through COVID that we can change and do differently and make better. It's probably one of these things, is that if we can continue putting out quality content for our participants that don't want to go to the gym on Saturday morning, but would want to do it in the comfort of their own home or their basement, go onto our website and check out, our YouTube page and check out one of these, fresh new workouts.
Yep. Everybody benefits from it. These local businesses get more exposure. You're interacting, P3R is interacting more with the runners, and these runners are getting different experiences that they've never had before. And, hopefully can see new ways of having fun as they move.
Right.
So it's really cool. Really cool. Well, we've been just sort of like piecing it together, but now's the time to do it. We do have 2 instructors who did partner. They were both involved in the series, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yep. So that's pretty cool. So they've definitely been, they're very familiar with P3R and all that we do. And we're already very thankful for what they've done for us, but we're very thankful and continue to be thankful for them being on the show with us today to talk a little bit more about what they do. So again, today we have 2 amazing guests from right here in the Pittsburgh area, local fitness studios. So they are right up the road from wherever you happen to be. Donald is here with us from Global Human Performance, and we have Mandy from the Bar Method in Wexford. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Aloha.
Aloha. I love it. Donald, give us a little bit of that island flair for us. We need it right now, right?
Oh, indeed. It snowed and now it's 40 again. So,
There was snow on the yes. So Donald, you're a personal trainer at GHP. You focus on heavily catering to runners and athletes, but you also focus on helping clients, members lose weight, keep that weight off as well. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Very cool. Very cool. That's awesome. It's an important step to getting fit. And Mandy, just a little bit more about you. You're the owner of Bar Method in Wexford, and your signature method is using your own body weight with the ballet bar and, of course, with a couple other props as well to create transformative workouts.
Yep.
Yeah. Very cool. Yep. That's awesome. I've heard both of your studios before, so it's really cool to have you both on the podcast here today. Just some local movers and shakers, just keeping people out there moving. So let's start out with you, Mandy. Would you mind just telling us a little bit more about yourself, about how you started your business, what inspired you to get to that point, and just different ways that you've been involved in keeping people move, as well as getting involved with the Move Local series.
So I am from Pittsburgh, and I was working in, I call it my old life. I worked for Aldi Foods. And at the time I was working in Frederick, Maryland, living in Bethesda. And when I moved there, I didn't have any friends. So there was a Bar Method across the street from where I lived. And I had noticed that a lot of people would come in and out. And I was like, I wonder if I go there and I smile at people want to be my friends. So really I had used fitness when I moved to Bethesda to really kind of find my niche. There were a few other things that I had tried, but nothing like the Bar Method really held on to me, or I held on to it. I had done some running in through various organizations and charities. But even then, I always had a running partner, so I didn't have anybody to be running with, even though I had the beautiful DC mall to look at. So really I just needed to make friends. And then I was taking class for about 7 years. And then one day honestly, it was very sudden. I was getting ready for work. It was a Tuesday. I know the day of the week. I know. And I thought, why wouldn't I move back home and open up my own studio? Like, why wouldn't I do this?
Cool.
And then I was like, that's dumb. Don't do that. And then I got to work and I couldn't shake it. And this is how I know the date, because I texted my sister and I was like, why wouldn't I move back home and open up my own bar studio? And she was like, do it. I'll open up a Smoothie King next door to you, because my niece loves Smoothie King. So ironically, fast forward, I'm like within a mile of Smoothie King in the North Hills. And this is how I opened up my studio. It just was an idea, a place. I mean, to me, what was really important, because I was looking for community when I found my way into fitness, it was really important to me to create an atmosphere that was community. People enter into fitness at all ages and stages. I have clients who were competitive athletes in college. I have clients who are marathon runners. I have moms. I have postpartum moms. I have brave men who want to come in and work on their flexibility. And to me, it's really important that the atmosphere was set. And I think that's really what pulled me in, and then how everything kind of goes from there.
So cool. And then with the Move series, did P3R find you? Did you find P3R? How did you get involved in that series?
Really great question. So somebody who's on your staff actually knows Bar Method from a different city and also knows my lead instructor. And through that, conversations have happened. We've actually been very fortunate. I'm very happy that we work with P3R on a few things. Back before COVID, if you can imagine, we did a class.
I don't remember that.
Right? What was that life like? Hugs, not masks? Yeah. One day it'll be back.
Sure.
We did a class before Liberty Mile in Market Square. So I think did we do 2 or 3 classes? Yeah, it was so much fun. I look back on those pictures and it makes my heart warm for what the future will hold.
Now, was it day of Liberty Mile, like literally before the race started? That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, it was so cool. It was so cool to be in Market Square. It was so cool to have like all of these people around. It was just such a high energy, positive experience that like, it just is so euphoric. And then the icing on the cake would be people who would come back over to us after they ran their mile, and they would say, I ran my best mile. And I really think it's because we did like an abbreviated class, really focusing on stretching, just what the situation was. And a lot of people came back and said they ran their best mile. So
that's so cool. Proof positive that it's working out. That's so cool.
Mm-hmm,
Wow.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really great.
Yeah.
So we're excited for regular life to come back and do it again.
Yeah. Hopefully, I mean,
July
I don't know
23rd.
Yeah, July 23rd. I don't know if you're signed up for providing the same thing, but I might just be forcing something to happen, but it sounds like it works. So it should probably happen again.
Yeah. Our first event back is going to be July 23rd with Liberty Mile. So you brought back some good feelings thinking about Market Square there and the activity that goes on, prior to the Liberty Mile on that Friday. So
that's
very electric.
Well,
absolutely.
Thank goodness for that Tuesday when you decided to just, drop Aldi, although I love Aldi, but, and to go and do this, what you were passionate about. That's really, I mean, kudos to you. Not many people take that leap, but, as a fellow small business owner, it's just like, you rock. Thank you for doing it.
Oh, thank you.
I think that's really awesome that you got to take that journey with your sister. And that she's like, hey, like having that person in your corner, like, just do it. And you know what? As a matter of fact, I'm gonna do it with you. Like that's such a rare thing to get. So many people are like, oh, are you sure you need to have this in order and that in order and this in order? So then their list looks like a Walmart list. And it's like, oh, you just shouldn't do it. And so just hop in there and make it happen. Like, I'm gonna go back home and just do this.
Right.
Yeah.
I wanted to come back home and I was like, this is my ticket. To be clear though, my sister is like a very strong advisor of me, but she does not own Smoothie King.
Okay. Before. For a second there, and Donald, I was with you at first too. I was like, wait, she did open the Smoothie King, but
that's what I thought.
But then when you said it was ironic, I was like, oh, she said like, oh, as a joke that we could do that, and then there is one up the road.
If you believe in signs, it was a sign that I picked the right location.
It's still a really cool thing though to have, like you said, Donald, someone like that in your corner just backing you up, because to do it on your own is that's got to be really hard, but to have a sister like that, that's really awesome. So cool. Well, thanks, Mandy. And Donald, how about you? Can you tell us a little bit about how, you started working GHP and how you got involved with P3R, all that good stuff. What's the story behind you, Donald?
So I was a track runner in high school. I was a 300-meter hurdler. I went to a few high schools. I ran for a couple of years at Slippery Rock on the sprint team.
Nice.
And so I always loved training. I have went to 4 high schools and not all of my coaches were great. And so towards the latter end of my high school career, I was trying to figure out like, what are things that I can do to be able to run faster? The 300 hurdles was my race, but I loved running all the distances. My senior year ended up running the 2 mile, the 1 mile, and like pretty much everything. I did everything but like jab and high jump because I can't do those. I suck at those. So
I still think I've ever heard of someone doing the 300-meter hurdles and the 2 mile. That's crazy.
the very first meet of the season, my senior year, it was cold and rainy. And I told my coach, I'm absolutely not running the 1 and the 2 and the 4 in this weather. So I'm going to run the 2 mile and the 1 mile and throw the discus. And they let me do it.
Nice.
So over the course of this process, like leading up to that, I was trying to figure out, how could I get better? I did not have a great junior year campaign. So I started like writing workouts for me and a friend of mine and then going to the gym. And the things that I was doing, I ran a PR the first meet and I was like, or the second meet when I ran the first race of the 300-meter hurdles, I was like, oh, this is great. Like this stuff works. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at figuring out what to do later on. So I ended up going to Slippery Rock for exercise science, had the idea to go to PT school, shadowed a lot of PT places, realized I cannot be as rah-rah and aggressive when there's people in there just doing band shoulder movement to just kind of rehab the shoulder. It just wasn't the environment for me.
Let's go.
Yeah, rep 30, band shoulder. So
come on. Yeah.
Maybe this isn't, maybe PT is not the thing. And so going through that exercise science program, I ended up, coming across a lot of opportunities to actively coach. So I started coaching track while I was running track at Slippery Rock with my track club, River City, back in 2012. Throughout the course of those years, worked with our football team, taught fitness classes up there, started like kind of running my own not under the table classes, really just like, hey, I'm working and training for this thing, come work out with me through that process. And then by that point, I realized I want to have a gym. So I did my master's at University of Texas at Austin, did a variety of different things, I coached Quidditch, I coached soccer athletes in East Africa, and, worked with track and all these sorts of things to kind of like build this expertise. I went and like interned at like almost half a dozen places that I love internships, but golly, it's costly to do this in hindsight. There's a lot of money I did not make not working.
You're not getting paid, right?
I did not get paid for a lot.
Yeah.
And so, but it was a great experience learning some different things. And so I had an opportunity to move back, and I ended up moving back actually for a social work job, believe it or not. I got a little bit on my high horse a little bit. And I was I was applying to all these big time training places that you have to know somebody there has to know you to actually get into it. You don't just come up with a good resume. Someone suggests you. And at 23, I didn't know that many people yet. And so the offers that I did get, I didn't want to go to those places. So I ended up moving back, and that was 2016. And so I was coaching track still, and I started doing some private coaching, and I was like, man, I did all this school and all these experiences. I need to get into a gym. So I looked at going to some of the big box places around, but some of these places wanted to offer like $6 to do a 25-minute class. And I said, absolutely not. Yeah. And then I ended up finding somewhere that would let me sublease. And that's when GHP began at the beginning of 2017. So I started subleasing at a gentleman's gym on the South Side, building up some clientele, learning how do I run this business? Because I've learned a whole lot about coaching and training, but I don't know anything about running a business. And so spent a couple years stumbling in the dark, figuring some things out, left my job. And then I left my job at the beginning of 2018 with the county, and then started GHP as a physical location that August here. I'm in Wilkinsburg in Community Forge right now. So I've been here for about 2.5 years. Nice. And over that time, most of the clientele that I've had, our members have been runners and ultimate Frisbee athletes. My background's in track. I actually play semi-professional ultimate Frisbee right now, and I've been playing since I moved to Texas. And so that revolves around a lot of the people who've come in and out. A lot of our regular fitness people or people that I just know from my personal life, or people that are like attached to track that are like adults that don't run anymore. And so that's been kind of the growing thing over these GHP has been around, it's been 4 years. I've been in this spot this is my 3rd year being here. And so we've really catered towards our high school track athletes. We have a lot of athletes right now making bids to go to WPIALs, go to states. I coach high school track. And so really using that as our big marketing piece. And then we also work with a lot of adults who do marathons. The client I had right before this call, she's a running coach and is planning to do different marathons later this year. And so we've catered to that a lot. And now it's ultimate Frisbee season. So, making that shift to there.
So cool.
Tell us a little bit about, we've all dealt with our struggles over the last, 13, 16 months. And I lose track. I don't even know, 15 months, I guess. We've changed a lot of our events to virtual. Obviously, you guys have clients and members. Donald, tell us a little bit about how you've continued to engage your members to stay fit and stay healthy, because I know it's been challenging. And tell us a little bit about, I've heard of so many different engaging ways that you guys have done. So if you could share a couple, that'd be great.
So 3 things that we do. So one big thing for us is just a very personal experience. We don't run a very huge clientele base so that we can really have a lot of one-to-one interactions, even with people who do some of our group programming. And so carrying that culture into the shutdown, I'm texting people, sending them video messages, phone calls throughout the week to stay on top of things.
Yep.
So when that shutdown hit, we went from 100% in person that Friday to 100% online that Monday. And our business kind of dwelled into 2 parts for online. We use Zoom to do like live classes online. And then we had an app called Train Heroic, which is a strength and conditioning app that I put people's workouts on there. So some of our clients, they didn't really like being on Zoom. Like the members are like, Zoom at 5 p.m. is just not my thing. I don't want to be on there. And a number of them had like home gyms or some substantial equipment home. So I could just program workouts for them and we communicated through the app, which was actually pretty efficient.
Nice.
So we did that until the end of May. And then when May hit, I started opening up our trackside program, which is one of our membership tiers where, athletes can come in and we do track specific stuff on the track with them. And so that program got its birth in May and is actually one of our bigger programs that a lot of our athletes participate in. And so during that transition of just doing online and doing stuff outside when it was safer and warmer outside until we could open back up. And then during reopening, I just kept everything. And then it just built an entirely brand new business around having these membership tiers and being able to have different ways to serve our members. But I actually don't have to do a significantly larger amount of work, but people get more touch points because now they can come into the gym, they can come to trackside, they can do their online stuff, and all of these things are included in their memberships.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot on the pod, at least in during COVID times. It's just how these silver linings have come and how, these things that are going to perpetuate forever for the life of your business. You're going to have those online features now, the trackside workouts that, otherwise probably wouldn't have gotten created, at least not this early, maybe down the road for some reason, but it's a cool silver lining. So
Mandy,
it was a much needed emergency.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Have to be agile, nimble.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't know if I ever could have predicted, even though we saw it coming, right? You saw Europe shutting down, you saw parts of the United States, and especially because I'm part of a franchise. So our studios that were in Oregon and California, and you kind of just see this coming across. I was like, oh, we're fine. Because here in Pittsburgh, I was having clients that came in that knew bar method from, other factors of life. Maybe they moved back home because Pittsburgh they thought it'd be safer. So early March was actually going really well for us because people were coming to Pittsburgh, and then that story changed. And yeah, you had to think really, really quickly on your feet. We went to Instagram. It just seemed like an easier avenue for all of our clients. And for us, because musicality is a huge portion of what we do, it doesn't really matter what song's playing, just more like the beat and how you're moving to the beat. And so how I cue you, Zoom, there a lot of times can be some differences in that. But to come, like what Donald had said, we spend a lot of time on FaceTime. So we're talking with our clients. One of my favorite or maybe most inspirational stories, I had a client who, it was all very eerie how it happened. In one of our last classes, she's an older client in her 60s, was doing a stretch. So no ballet background or dance background is needed for bar. I have 2 left feet, but we do use a bar for a big portion of our exercise. And she had her foot up at the bar, so it was about hip height. Not a problem for her and her flexibility, but she stumbled coming down. And after class, me and my instructor were talking. We're like, that's strange because Pam never stumbles. We're all very much in our heads. We're like, the world's coming to an end, and we're closing soon. It turns out she was having a stroke, and she didn't know that. And so a few days later, the stroke became much more apparent. So she spent a few days after shutdown in the hospital by herself, recovering from her stroke. Yeah. Yeah. Her husband couldn't come in. I mean, like, this is when we were still wiping down our groceries and isolating mail.
Yeah. Right.
And so when she was released to go home, she was supposed to, her doctor wanted her to be doing PT, but that wasn't a possibility. So he was like, stay with Barb, and continue. So we would meet on FaceTime pretty frequently, however she needed to. And then as we'd be, even though I couldn't see her on the Instagram, I could tell that she was on. And so I would walk her through the modifications whenever we were teaching. And then she could communicate back to us with like the messaging feature on Instagram. We could touch base after class. And she was actually really, I mean, if you were to mix with Pam now, like a lot of times she's the client I put new clients next to so that they have somebody to look at and then they can follow along, because she's just such a strong client, mentally so strong, physically so strong. But there was, simply put, there was a lot of time on FaceTime, and then also a lot of touch points, because we started out in March and everything was really like, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to be virtual, and everybody was really energetic. But kind of mid-May, when outdoor classes weren't really accepted yet, mid-April, there were still a lot of touch points, reaching out to people and giving some personal challenges to make sure that they would stay engaged. Because I think it was really easy. Part of us is the community and being together. Right. And so the actual act of leaving your house, booking the time, leaving your house and coming in, there's a whole ritual to that makes a difference. Right. And that's part and parcel of the, 45 to 60 minutes that you're doing where you're getting the physical effects. So we had to find a way to really, stay in contact with our clients so that they continue to stay engaged. Personal challenges, group challenges, all of those.
How much support in coming up with those methods did you get from Bar Method as a brand? Did you get support from, the umbrella Bar Method, or were you kind of just left on your own to figure out what you, Bar Method, Pittsburgh, Wexford, were going to do?
Good question. I think that HQ was in the thick of it while we were in the thick of it. So they would be knowledgeable of what we were doing down on the ground and kind of watching to see who had a really nice system. But I think things were moving really fast. It was tough for them to really say that this is an iron tight program. Sure. This is best practice, especially because certain parts of the country also were less fearful or more fearful of COVID. Yeah. I think Florida was only closed a couple of weeks, but California was closed for a year.
Yeah. It's wild. No.
Donna, we talked about movement. I think you touched on a lot of your high school athletes that you train. I have, my oldest is 17, and I know how tough it is. He kind of goes like this, and I'm sure some of your athletes have the ups and downs. How do you continue those student athletes to continue to move, to continue to participate, especially over the last year? I know it's been even more difficult for younger athletes to stay engaged. And I know that you've done a great job. So share some tips with how to keep those younger athletes engaged and moving.
So for a lot of the teenagers, as we're getting older, like when we kind of have a good perspective of timeline, at least we think we do, versus when we're kids and teenagers, it's harder to think about tomorrow. I mean, it's part of the development process. A lot of it really goes into talking with them very directly about trying to make sure to keep them calm that this is an anomaly. This is not normal. This isn't something that normally happens to us. Their parents, talking to their parents about these things like, hey, there's a next year. A lot of our athletes actually ended up doing some virtual races throughout the course of the spring and summer, which I really think did help them with staying motivated to train. And then really encouraging them, hey, cross country's coming up, not trying to get their hopes up too high, but reminding them, hey, cross country's coming up. So we have a couple kids. I'll talk about two kids, one who runs for Older Dice. I have a few kids that run there, and really, talking to him and his sister about, hey, you still have a lot of time left in high school. This is just 1 year. Hey, let's worry about tomorrow. We have this practice coming up. Let's train. We have next week coming up. Let's train. Keeping in mind, we're training for cross country, but be prepared that it doesn't. But again, this is an anomaly. It's 2020. We have technology. Things can change, in preparation for next year. So talking to them, And then I have one kid who, she doesn't do cross country. She's a sprinter. So she didn't really have anything going on other than like volleyball, but she's, has a scholarship to go run at Indiana Tech for the 100 and 200. And so keeping her encouraged, just constantly talking to her like, hey, you have this scholarship on the table. You don't want to waste this. Track's not going to go away. It's just not happening this year. And really trying to keep them encouraged to show up just tomorrow, show up this week. And then, it's out there. Be prepared that it might go away, but there's a good chance it's still there, and, move as if it's there, and really just trying to have a lot of touch points and conversations with them, through their ups and downs. Sometimes they're like really excited. And then, there's maybe an incident where there's a lot of cases going up, or, it's getting into wintertime and, basketball had started. So shutdowns were starting to happen. Then the other shutdown happened. And so trying to like talk to them and really keep a lot of communication, because sometimes they get in the dump, and sometimes in the dump, not pushing them too hard, because they'll probably come out of it.
Yeah, that's great.
Definitely.
I think it's not even kids. I think that's some adults too. Like where Donald was saying, I think people are having trouble seeing in the distance, no pun intended. And like, planning for today, planning for this week, and don't worry about starting something that you're worried that you might not be able to finish because there might be another shutdown or whatever. The world could turn over completely different way that we haven't expected. But getting people to focus on the moment and do what you can today or do what you can this week.
Yeah, totally. Living in the moment for sure. Donald, you mentioned, training a lot of your athletes for college, for high school meets. Have you had any of your members training specifically for any of P3R's events? Have you had anyone just be like, hey, my first 5K is coming up. It's the great race, or I'm doing the 5K of the marathon. Anyone that's focused primarily on that?
Not for their first event, but yes, for their event. So we have one of our members who actually, I did this David Goggins 4x4x48 crazy thing where we ran 50 miles in 2 days. And so he actually is training to do the Pittsburgh Marathon. And so I've actually written a running program for him. He comes in, does the strength work. And so he is training specifically to do this marathon. Cool. But it's also in the greater scheme of him doing he has to get his second medal in the Baker Ultra Challenge on the Race for Carson Trail. Like I think it's later this fall. And so he's trying to get this marathon in as part of his training for that 50 miler. But yeah, this is his first big race of the year. So that we're working for.
Tell us real quick. I mean, that's awesome. But tell us a little bit more about that 4x400x48. What's going on there?
So David Goggins is one of these like motivational guys. He's like this super badass person. I don't really know where he came from, but like he's really popular. And so he has these motivational messages. He was in the military. Apparently used to like be some, chubbier guy. He didn't like being chubby, so he wanted to like change all that, whatever.
Sure.
And so he created this challenge, and it's to run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours straight.
What?
And so me and one of our members, Marcel, did this at the beginning of March. And it was a friend of mine from Ultimate Frisbee hit me up like, hey, I think you're crazy enough to do this. And I told him he could F off, and like, I'm flattered, but like, go away. I don't ever want anything part of this. And then I like slipped up at a workout and told Marcel about it. And he was like, we talked about it for like 10 minutes. He's like, we're doing this. And I'm like, God, we're doing this. Right. And so we did it. And it actually was like a really great experience in hindsight, because, you don't think, I don't run ultra marathons. Like I've run one half marathon in my life. 6 my favorite distance to run. So 50 was just like, what? And so finishing it's like, oh my God, like I could do that. That's crazy. What else could I do?
That's intense. Wow. Just when I thought runners couldn't get any crazier, I hear about that.
He's using a training run for the marathon to as part of his 50 miler. You know what I mean? Like, you're a little bit off when I'm going to get my training run in. It's just a 26.2, but I'm just going to get that in.
Yeah.
He's a wild event.
Absolutely.
I'm sure. I know some of them. Changing kind of topics a little bit, Mandy. You touched on it earlier, but we hear a lot is that people don't have time to take time out of their day, their work, their kids, the extracurriculars, whatever. What have you guys done to get those working parents and mothers and grandmas that you talked about into the studio or, on Instagram? How did you motivate? Because I think it's so important is that we hear, like I said, we hear it a lot is like, I don't have time to train. And I feel like what both of you are doing you can carve out time, and it's not like you're putting in 5 or 10 miles. You're training a different aspect or area of your body to strengthen it. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yep. I'm typically honest with people at first, and I tell them like the first couple of weeks are going to be your hardest because you're not feeling results yet, but you're putting your time in. Oh, excuse me, the phone's ringing. Let me.
It's good business.
That's one of those busy mothers I was just talking about, calling you,
Yeah.
trying to book an appointment.
It's asking hands in both places.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think people enjoy that leveling. I think they understand like when they have their expectations set, and then I give them a guidance. If you can come 3 times in the first couple of weeks, you really will at the end. Some gentle work clients before they leave, like, are you signed up for your next class? And doing it with them. And I think when people feel like you're doing things with them, they don't feel like they're kind of floundering out in the universe. And then fortunately for me, I have pretty much in every class, I've got some people that like, this is the time that they take. This is their staple time. And they love the method. So they're really keen whenever we have a new client come in and they realize like, oh, that person's new. And so they're very friendly with them. They chat with them. And I think that helps people feel not so strange, especially when you take your first class. I think the first time you do anything, your body's in a fight or flight mode. So you're too busy thinking, I don't want to make a fool out of myself. And you're not getting the full mental effects, maybe even the full physical effects. But after a little bit, you'll realize like, all right, there's no tiger chasing me. I can start paying attention to the moment I'm in right now. And I think that those multiple factors, leveling with them, hopefully other people joining in and saying like, don't be scared, continue to stick with it. And I think after they start to feel the benefits, that's when they realize, all right, I need this. I have a lot of clients who come in and they just want, have your way with me. It's in God's hands. I got myself here, take the next 45 minutes or an hour and whatever it has to be. And even a lot of my type A clients, I have a lot of entrepreneurs in other industries, and they're like, I want an hour where I'm not in charge. And I think that also does something with their mental way of checking out.
That's a great
Definitely.
point.
I mean, it's something that kind of goes hand in hand with, if you have time or not time to work out, or if you want to work out, is just in general. These are different types of cross training. Both of you offer different types of cross training techniques. And I know a lot of our listeners and viewers would want to know, how often do you recommend a bar workout? I know as a small business owner, it's tempting to say, yeah, come every day, twice a day, let's do it. But
Right.
But I know, when it comes to personal fitness, we care less about the business and more about really the results that happen. So,
Right.
Mandy and then Donald, if you guys, what do you think, Mandy, first? What would you recommend for your average bar fitness level? How often are they coming in?
Yep. And it really does depend on whether or not they're doing a variety of things. So for my clients that like, this is all that they do, they're coming anywhere between 3 to 5 times per week. We have multiple formats. So we have a format that's just really based upon stretching. We have a format that's based on cardio. We have a format that's based on strengthening. Our all around, our classic format touches on all of those, but we will, in these specialized classes, change the focus. But then I have other clients, especially runners. For my clients that are cross training, they come anywhere habitually twice per week. They might make it 3 times per week. That will ebb and flow when they're in the season. So when they're training, like I have a client right now, when she came in yesterday, I know that she's been training for various races. And she actually travels, and I think her goal is to do a half in every state. She's just coming off of an event. So right now, she really schedules out. She looks at the calendar, the forecast. When is it sunny? When can I get in my runs? When am I going to come in and take? And then she also will base those days around what formats we're offering, so that she has this really holistic picture. But she's one of our really, very thoughtful clients. She's felt the benefits. So it's worth that time to her. For our clients that are still edging towards that point, I would say 2 times a week and just get in, and then we'll make sure that you get the stretches, you get the strength training, and then we build from there.
That's cool. And then Donald, I'm sure things are maybe a little bit different for you because you're more, as far as I take it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're more of an all-around personal trainer. So you have different methods that you can apply to each athlete. So maybe people are coming in a little bit more frequently to see you, or am I wrong? I could be totally wrong.
So with GHP physically, we have a gym. We do strength training. That's, the heritage of what we do.
Okay.
And so a vast majority of our members come in twice a week, mostly because they are running anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week. So they actually just don't need to come into the gym 3-4 times a week to do strength training. Some people occasionally do come in 3 times a week, and that's where we mix up their programs with, doing some more auxiliary work, mobility work, flexibility things. But as far as like the core strength training, most of them come in twice a week because it's supplementary to help them get more out of their training. I talk to them about, being able to be strong, have healthy joints, have strong muscles, good tendons, good fascia, helps with being able to get more out of your running efforts and also keeps you from being likely to get hurt from those efforts.
Yeah.
Some of our, other people who are like, we don't really run a whole lot or don't really run at all, kind of just looking for fitness. We have our Zoom workouts still, and some of them also come into the gym and do Zoom workouts. And so they're working out 4, 5, 6 days a week with us, but it's not as intense as like our high schoolers who are preparing to go to WPIALs, or even our adults, who's Marcel, who's doing the marathon, his training plan, he still comes in twice a week. He runs 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week. And yet he does some of the Zoom workouts here and there, but not trying to kill himself on there.
Yeah. Have either of you had anyone come in who isn't necessarily trying to do an ultra marathon, who maybe isn't even necessarily trying to really run, but they're just trying to walk comfortably for extended periods of time, or maybe straighten their posture out a little bit? And if so, what are kind of your standard go-to workouts for those folks? Donald, maybe if you want to start.
So we have a lot of our members who fit that bill who are, parents. They have, teenagers and older kids or empty nesters themselves. And so with them, we work on being able to make sure they can push, pull, squat, lunge, and hinge when it comes to doing their strength work. Push up top, pull up top, hinging, basically doing like deadlift variations that are safe for them, squatting variations, lunging variations. We have progressions for that. And then being able to do some core work that stabilizes their body, and then working on being able to rotate their body. So if they come in here, we're throwing med balls, we're doing different band exercises that get them rotating, we're moving around, shuffling. And so a lot of that population, most of them, back pain, hip pain, knee pain. And so we create programs based on being able to help them get through these back, knees, and hips so that they can actually get more out of things, whether they're going to chase their kids around at these track meets and practices, whether they're just trying to go outside and walk a lot. We have some of our members, they go up to Shenley Oval and they just walk for like 2 hours, which I can not do. I can run for 2 hours, but I will refuse to just walk for 2 hours. Or like do other things like biking, or just, trying to battle father time as best as they can.
Sure. How about you, Mandy? What are some of the exercises you recommend for them?
Yep. So what happens is I have clients that come in that will be rehabbing certain injuries. They might come in with certain goals, or they might be rehabbing things. So I have a lot of, knee injuries are very common. I've had a few hip replacements, shoulder injuries. So what we do is we always try to talk to clients beforehand. We encourage them to come a few minutes early if it's on their first class, so that we can go over those things, any sensitivities. And you can tell some people are rather bashful. They don't, and I'm a perfect stranger. So why would they want to tell me? But a lot of times after the first class, they'll say, we'll go in, they'll be like, nope, I'm good. And then after class, they'll say, well, I broke my foot a year ago. Or, I have a knee replacement on the side, or I favor this shoulder. I do have a lot of moms, so issues postpartum. So then after we've kind of built this trust, there's a variety of modifications that we can do. People think that because we're bar and there's ballet bar, you think that you'd be on like a releve on your toes, but that doesn't have to be the case. We can do all low heeled sets, which is really what I would encourage. I am a risk adverse person. So normally when I have people that come in, I like for them to really take it slow. And I do say it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. When you're thinking about your health and wellness, we want to be doing something for you that supports you throughout time. With injuries, I've learned, as you've been released from your doctor and you're coming back into your routine, pain from that injury might not surface while you're in class or even that night. It typically shows up 2 weeks later. And that's why I like to take that really steady approach, because then you can continue. You don't have the downtime when you re-injure something.
Yeah, awesome.
Totally.
Well, I want to thank you guys for being on the podcast. I mean, what you've done for the region, both of you, to keep people moving is tremendous. So, GHP with Donald. If you need a workout, go find them. Bar Method Wexford, go find Mandy. Reach out to these people. They're doing great things and keeping people moving in the Pittsburgh region. So, thank you guys for joining us on the pod today.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thanks
Thank you for
us.
having us.
Yeah, and thank you again, like Troy said, for everything you do. Just as an athlete myself, and I mentioned it earlier in the intro before you came on, I just cross training's it's key. I was injury prone all throughout my early career, and then it was when I started being more dedicated to strength training, more dedicated to mixing things up with cycling and swimming. It kept me injury free. So I am a firm believer in what the two of you are offering. So keep up the great work, and just know
We'll
that
see you at a start line very soon.
Yeah.
We'll see
Yeah.
you and your clients
yeah,
at
oh,
a
yeah.
start line very soon. So I can't wait to see you guys in person. Okay.
Are you guys okay if I take a screenshot? Because I was going to make this as my post for the day.
You're going to have to sign away your life if you do that. But yeah.
I have a waiver ready.
Yes. No, of course. That's awesome. Right, Troy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Donald, you okay?
Yeah, that's all good. All good.
Absolutely.
All right.
I'm actually in the process of signing up for the half, and I'm like, I haven't signed up for the half because I'm trying to talk myself out of doing the full marathon, because I'm like, well, why
That's a good
not
way of
just
looking
do
at
the
it.
full? Oh man.
Yeah. You never know. You sign up for the half, and then you might just wake up one morning and say, let's change that. Let's go to the full.
Change it.
Yeah.
Well, have a good rest of the week, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. Thanks for everything you do. Thanks for the Move series. The videos were awesome, and hopefully we can continue that outside of COVID. Even I think it's beneficial for our runners and our participants. So thank you.
No doubt.
Love it.
All right, see you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Nice speaking to
Troy.
y'all. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
We'll see you guys. Thanks.
Thanks.
Man, it was great. Another great duo. I love when we have multiple people on the pod. It's really fun. It kind of adds to the dynamic. And I mean, with Donald and Mandy, it's clear that they're just naturals in front of people. This is what they do. So
Sure,
it's great to
and
have them.
they're passionate about getting people to move,
Yep.
and obviously those are two different ways. But the passion is still there, which I love, and they're great to have in the region.
Yeah.
People
And
like that.
definitely a couple people that I would love to invite virtually into my home on a Saturday morning, like you said. And that's what's so cool about this whole virtual experience is,
Yeah, it's so easy. You know, go on to the Run with P3R YouTube page and look up the Move series, and check out Donald's video or check out Mandy's video. It's just great. And the cool thing too is that there's so many people that Donald trains that participate in our events and are around. And same with Mandy. There's so many Bar Method consumers that end up running a half marathon or what. So it all comes together.
right.
And I think it's so important that they're doing something completely different. They're not out on a track, doing sprints or hill runs. But it all translates to keeping your body strong. So when you do show up to a start line, you're very confident that you're going to, compete and finish that race, and whatever your goal is, you'll crush it. So yeah, that was a great episode.
Yeah, really awesome. Thank you, Donald and Mandy, once again for being with us. And again, just a reminder to all of our listeners, our viewers out there, don't be afraid to jump out of that comfort zone. Believe me, for many a year, that's how I was. I was one of those like old school runners who that's all I'm doing. I'm not going to hop on a bike. I'm not going to do yoga, but I started doing it and I stopped getting injured as frequently. So hopefully you all can take that away as well from today's podcast. And we hope to see you all at the start line feeling better, feeling physically more confident, feeling mentally more confident as well, and just having more fun as you move along. So folks, we the Move Local series. Let's talk a little bit about that before we head out. Troy, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Donald is showcased on that. Mandy showcased on that. I think that I checked out, I believe Mandy's, I think she has a 45-minute video. Really cool, very interactive. Go to the Run with P3R YouTube page. Like I said, you can find all that information, or all those videos really. And there's 8 others too. So, make it a goal over the next 10 weeks to check out each one of the videos, because each one kind of works a different part. And as we found out during the guest today told us, it's different, but in the end, it's the same goal. So yeah, it's a cool series. We have, we're really focused right now on continuing to push out quality content, quality videos, with some of our partners like Mandy and Donald, because it, benefits everybody, like I said. So, very cool aspect of what we're doing.
Perfect. And very simple to find as well. So again, folks, Run with P3R, YouTube, the Move Local playlist. That's how you can get to that. And you can see the content that's there and the content that's going to continue to come out. So we'll keep you on your toes and having fun with some new stuff as much as possible. All right. I think that's just about going to do it for this podcast, right, Troy?
That's a wrap.
Good? Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, folks, again, as always, thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you again to Mandy and Donald for being our guests. And as always, we we encourage that you'll follow us on social media. If you want to do that, you'll do so at Run with P3R. You can also reach out to us at any time. Tell us how we're doing. Give us some questions. Again, Troy's asking any questions. We'll answer.
I'm begging for them.
Yeah.
I love them.
Bring it on. Feedback as well. All of that good stuff. Send that to behindtheline@p3r.org. That's how you can reach out to us and let us know. Troy, thank you as always.
Until next time, buddy.
Should we do one more? Should we do one more to sign off with?
You got one loaded?
I got it's ready. We're always ready. Hold on.
Sure. Send us off.
Here we go, guys. We'll do a different angle. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Oh my gosh, that actually scared me.
Nice.
I'm not sure how that
was
plays
fun.
for the people listening on Spotify, but it plays well for the YouTube watchers. I like it.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much once again. We hope to see you next time on Behind the Start Line. Again, I'm Eric Burdett here with my buddy Troy. Until then, have fun and keep moving.